You've just returned from Canada at the PDAC conference. It's been very cold there, I believe, but what would you say was the overall mood in terms of looking at Africa and investing in Africa?
Leon, notwithstanding the fact that it was minus 21 degrees. I mean, I have never experienced cold like that. The actual vibe at the PDAC event was electric. I have to say, the number of people that were there, 32,000 people came to PDAC. Over 125 countries were present, and there is this absolute experience of excitement around mining and financing of mining around the world. With regards to Africa, there is a desperation to get onto the ground and onto the continent, and a lot of money is looking to move over towards our continent.
Okay, I mean, if you had to summarize what investors are really looking for when they assess a mining jurisdiction, what do you think are the 2 or 3 conditions that matter most?
So I'm not going to say regulatory certainty, because that's what everybody says. But obviously, there got to be the rocks in the ground, and most importantly, you've got to be able to get your investment out, your rocks and your investment out. So the ability to make sure that you've got security of supply, and then also be able to ensure that whatever investment you've made, you're able to retrieve the funding from there. So those would typically be the most important aspects. I mean, and the reason I'm not going to say regulatory certainty is because look at the DRC. So one really just has to look at the practicalities around how to get investment out.
Yeah, that sort of follows on the question. Next question is, how much regulatory complexity are investors willing to tolerate if the geology is strong enough?
Well, that's exactly it. Can I tell you, ordinarily I would say they would need proper regulatory certainty, and they would need understanding as to what is happening on the ground and what are the regulatory requirements. But right now, with the rush of where everybody is and what critical minerals, the big chase for critical minerals, and the geology that we've got, particularly on the African continent, they're willing to look past that, and they're willing to basically try and comply with absolutely everything that is required just to make sure that they get their hands on the rocks.
Yeah. And so what is your feeling, Lili, about specific African countries?
Yeah.
And then maybe comparing it to South Africa at the moment, but specifically maybe Botswana, Namibia and Zambia.
Yeah.
And why would the countries that are really in focus of investors, why would they attract the attention?
So those 3 specific countries that you mentioned, those are definitely, there is a lot of kind of government excitement and government openness to having people come and invest, and they really are opening up their doors to the rest of the world to be able to come and look and invest and be a part of the mining ecosystem there. South Africa, unfortunately, has got this view, or at least there's a global view about South Africa, of being a very tricky jurisdiction. Particularly when I was at PDAC, there's this view around South Africa being closed, being difficult to navigate the empowerment criteria, difficult to navigate the funding and fiscal arrangements, that government wasn't particularly open to investment. This is the perspective that there is from abroad. Whereas Zambia, people are really looking at Zambia. Botswana, from a Botswana perspective, people are keen. They've seen positive outcomes there. So they're looking there. They think that it is more stable than the South African jurisdiction.
There's something, the next question is something that has been talked about a lot lately, and it's something that I also question often, but with countries like Zimbabwe recently has banned the export of raw lithium, for instance. How important is this concept of beneficiation? Is it possible, first of all, and then the downstream processing in investor conversations? Are they talking about it, or is it all just let's just export the raw materials?
So again, it's basically ordinarily, I would say beneficiation is an important point, and I guess that's also where governments from the various African countries come in from a resource nationalism perspective. They immediately put rules in place and regulations to try and hold on to that from to ensure more beneficiation within their country. But right now, I think because there is this huge desperation to get their hands on the rocks, and because of basically the stockpiles, as I understand it, the stockpiling of critical minerals for weapons, for missiles, for everything that is unfortunately leading towards and enabling these war type situations are depleting at a rapid rate. There really is this desperation to try and get the minerals out. So ordinarily I would say people look at beneficiation and governments try and enforce beneficiation requirements and downstream requirements, but right now it seems to be just for the taking. If governments can ensure that funding and fiscal or money is coming into the country for purposes of these critical minerals, then that is what the situation is going to be. How sustainable it is, I mean, I don't know. I cannot see that it is.
Okay, because we're in South Africa, we have to maybe just touch a bit on South Africa.
Yeah.
If South Africa were to send one clear signal to global mining investors right now, what would it need to be?
That it really isn't as bad as external media and perception is. That if you understand how to do business in South Africa and you have the right partners in place, and you have the right stakeholders and you have people who understand what it is like to be on the ground here, honestly, it really is a fabulous jurisdiction. We have the rocks, we have the skills. So get the partners in place and start mining in South Africa.
Great, thank you.